Okay, so hello, I'm Pavel Machek, and I will talk about modular software on cell phones. I work for a company called DENX. We do Linux, U-boot, Yocto project, whatever our customers need. If someone wants, there's my PGP key down there. And I would like to know how many C developers are here. Okay. Who is willing to have kernel? Okay. Is there some package maintainers around? Okay. Is there someone who has Nokia N900? Or N9, N950? Motorola Droid 4? Okay. So let's talk about the hardware first. First one and the best supported one is Nokia N900. Nokia N900 looks like this, and well, it runs Linux, and these phones, it's the best supported phone we have today. If you can get one, get it. They are getting rare because the hardware is getting old. It is TI OMAP 3 based. Unfortunately, it only has 200 megabytes of RAM, which is kind of limiting, but basically most of the hardware works these days. What doesn't work? DSP, and that probably will never work. Bluetooth. If someone wants to debug kernel, we have patches, they just don't work, we don't know why, and I have better toys. 3D would be nice, but it's like a lot of work. AGPS support would be nice, would involve reverse engineering, unfortunately. The biggest disadvantage is that the voice quality is pretty poor, which is actually a user space problem at this point. But I can take calls, I can place calls, I can do a lot of stuff, but the voice quality is unfortunately bad. The hardware is actually quite nice. Modem is not using shared RAM, so if you are paranoid about security, you can use this one. It has a keyboard, quite small one, but quite good one, and it has a resistive touchscreen, which means it's basically can run normal applications without too many problems. Next, Nokia N950. This one is rare because they decided it is not good enough for the end users, so they only made like, I don't know, thousands of them. So it has gigabyte of RAM, which is nice. Bluetooth works. Unfortunately, some more important stuff does not. So GPS does not. Okay, but charging doesn't work. So I actually recommend N900 over this one. And the box is rare, which means well, you can spend effort there, but there are not too many users to help. It doesn't have a micro SD card slot, and it has locked bootloader, which can be unlocked, but is kind of giving you problems anyway. So I like N900 better. N9. This is actually pretty similar to N950. It looks like phone. It's new, so you can probably buy it without many problems. Same problems are there, so it won't charge, and well, more devices need to work, but that can be solved. It doesn't have a keyboard, which makes debugging more tricky. You really need USB to work there. And it has rather nice OLED display, which is really cool black. and it can be always on, which is quite nice. So this would be quite nice phone if the software worked. Next one. This is actually my favorite. So this is Modular Droid 4. It looks like this. It never sold in Europe, but you can buy it. Like I was able to get it in Czech Republic for $100. It has a keyboard. The keyboard looks big and nice. It's not as good as it looks. The other devices actually have better keyboard. On the other hand, you get 2 CPUs, you have gigabyte of RAM, micro SD slot, and pretty good mainline support. So for the hardware, I recommend either the old N900. If you don't want to get an old device, get this one. You might need to buy it over eBay or something, but it's well worth the $100. Modem. So in N900 case, we have full O-Phono support, which is nice. This one O-Phono is not yet supported, but we can do 80 commands. And the modem is directly connected to the sound card, so we can actually have a voice calls in reasonable quality. So this one is good. Unfortunately, it has Android on it, so you need to jailbreak and install a safe strap boot, and you are using quite complex system for a bootloader, but you can also run Android and Yola and Mainline at the same time, switching during boot. So it's not as simple as N900, but it's very nice. Okay. What's missing in Kernel? Graphics is the big part. So PowerVR is a problem. Drivers exist. I'm not sure if the user space part are open source, and that would be a lot of work to do. We are also missing some abstractions. So we don't have a reasonable abstraction for modem, which is kind of a problem. And there are competing implementations in user space where we have O-Phono, which is my favorite, but there's also Modem Manager and libqumi and so on. So I don't think the problem is solved. So in the next 10 years or something, we will need to invent better APIs that work for everyone. I would like to see it in the kernel actually, because the hardware abstraction and kind of develops there. Next thing, there's GPS, and we are missing reasonable support for that too. So in the GPS case, most GPSs talk NMEA protocol, like this one does, this one does not. But there's GPS daemon trying to do a job that Kernel should be doing. Again, we can live with that, but there should be development to integrate this in Kernel and do it properly. Next thing, this kind of is not so big problem, but you can see there's a LED here, and that LED is actually a separate computer. It can run a program. So you would need compiler for it ideally. And the support for that is kind of missing. So we can drive to that by software, and it's not a big problem. It doesn't cost that much power, but it would be nice to have a good abstraction where we would like, user space would say, we want this kind of blinking, hardware do it for me, and next thing, which will need a lot of work, is a camera. We actually have a kernel support for the camera there, but the userland support is not complete. So Basically, the kernel driver for this camera is useless with mainline utils for and there's not much you can do with the camera without touching user space. So this work is in user space, but it will need to be done. So I'm not alone in this project. There's Palirohar, friend from Czech Republic, and there is a community around common software system update or something. So they are actually maintaining the software for N900 and doing a good job. There's U-boot support he has been doing, and there's bootloader called 0xFFF, which is very useful for Nokia N900. Then there's Sebastian Reichel, Debian developer, and he does a great job hacking all over the kernel. He has done GSM support, GSM audio, Bluetooth, display on the new devices, and so on. There's Tony Lindgren. He works for TI, doing OMAP professionally. I think he kind of hates us sometimes because this hardware is really so old that they would like it to be gone, and it's not. So every time they break it, I scream, hey, you broke my Nokia 900, you cannot do that, and then we fix it. There's Ivailo Dimitrov. He was maintaining a camera for a long time and hacking everywhere. There's me, I hacked Bluetooth, LED flash, temperature sensors, camera, and basically all over the kernel too. Okay. To give you some idea how this works, so it turns out kernel configuration is very, very valuable. It's pretty hard to generate a configuration that boots on this board. So if you have one, I suggest you version control it because it's quite easy to break. Then you need a cross compiler. So I'm using ELDK from DENX, but pretty much any cross compiler should work for you. And that's basically it. You develop kernel as usual, difference being that it's slower machine and it's kind of tricky sometimes. For the development, everybody loves serial consoles, right? So this device is great. It has a USB port, but the USB port can work as a serial too based on PinMaxing. So with right cable, you get serial port here. Very nice. N950 and N9 and N900, they also have serial ports, but they are tricky to get at the connectors. So for this, development system exists, but probably one development system exists in the free software world. So you can get, and it's difficult to get at the pins without that. So serial is hard to access. For this one, people actually build wood-based adapter boards in serial. It works, but you have to be hardware hacker to do stuff like that. USB works rather well on these boards because it's easier to get USB working than to get the display working. So we basically get the USB first, and I usually even run NFS root over USB because that's what you can do without you don't want to damage your flash. There's MIME on there, and you need it to manipulate the bootloader and so on, so it's important. Anyway, we will get back to that in a few seconds. Oops. Sorry. Let's try again. So why am I doing this? I would really like to have a computer in my pocket. I would really like to run one set of applications on a PC and on the phone, and I believe to be pretty close to that. I would like to have a usable phone too, so it should do phone calls. And I like contacts and calendar. These are the most important data I have, and I would really like to have them in plain text format and being able to control them with JIT and so on. And I'm using Unison to synchronize my PCs. I would like to synchronize my phones too, so that it works nicely with the rest. For both N900 and Droid 4, basically the kernel is there or is pretty close to there. So Mainline already works very well on 900, and Mainline with few patches works on Droid 4. Unfortunately, we don't have a reasonable userland. If you try to install, well, Red Hat, you are not likely, it's not likely to be usable on the small screen, and you won't have the application to do phone calls. I started developing hacks in Python and put them in a repository called Trivial User Interface, and I've got enough to have good enough phone so that I can do the testing. That was my goal. I now use it even like in production. The original MIMO, I didn't like it quite that much. I'm now using XFCE4 based user interface on N900, and I like it better than the original Nokia software. So this repository turned out to be quite hacky, and I started cleaning it up, and the clean-up versions are in this project, and this is actually packaged for PostmarketOS, and you can get there and there. Yeah. So there are some differences. Phone is not a PC, so you don't have an ACPI, you don't have a BIOS, and you don't have a system management mode, which is on one hand great because ACPI only means problems. On the other hand, it's tricky. For example, you need running userland to even charge the battery. So it's recommended to have external charger which can charge your battery without the hell. And I also recommend being careful and not running the battery run dry. Because the monitoring is not there, it will not even turn off, so it will run the battery down to 3 volts, which is not really a good thing, and then it will crash. So be careful. You can get battery into a state it's quite tricky to recover from. Keyboard is not complete, so sometimes you are staring at the console and you find out, hey, I would like to type this command, but I just don't have required keys to type it. Well, I lost. They are missing right and middle buttons, so you can probably emulate this with shift keys, but you really need X to work. So these machines you cannot expect to be usable from console. Flash is not disk, and there are some limitations on the slides. Audio support is pretty complex. You have a call mode and you have a ringing mode, and you need to switch between the two. And ALSA wasn't really designed to do that. PC doesn't have a problem. GSM modem is problematic too, because AT commands are basically mass. They were meant for user interaction, and you can interact by hand, but there are some differences, so you really need to have some daemon covering it for you. Ophono is one solution, but it still needs drivers for specific modem. Android has different solution, modem manager is there is probably more. Okay. I might try to demo this. So I have SS changed into my Nokia N900. Everybody wants to see proxy CPU info, so this is what we have. Wow. And these are my Python hacks. I hope they will work. As you can see, in N900 is rather slow CPU, so Python probably was not good thing. Anyway, this is what I have now. If the organizers are listening, they can send me an SMS, and it should appear here. So, we can see that we have battery is charging, which is good. We also have a GSM signal, even if it gives some contradictory things. Oops. I'm sorry for the mouse. This screen is very slow. So, okay. There are some problems there, but basics work. And this is actually important. I can risk. This is a useful screen for testing, because N900 works well enough that I try to catch some cache regressions. So, for example, we have accelerometers there, and I run this from time to time to see if it still works as it used to be. Okay. Enough of the demo. So this was Ophono. It can do short messages, it can do calls, with the audio quality being poor on an N900. It can access phone book, which is in the Emacs org format, which is text file. It can ring on incoming calls, and it can do USSD codes, so you can query your account balance and so on. Help would be welcome here. This is in Python. Probably, well, could be extended to do more stuff. Wouldn't be bad to rewrite it in Rust or C, because Python is really not suitable for low power hardware like this. I should mention there's program called Ophono phone sim, so you can develop your applications on your PC and simulate the network for them. It works really well, it's really useful, and makes development much easier. Battery. Because if we don't have a CPI, we need to monitor the battery ourselves, which is what battery monitor daemon does. It protects the battery by shutting the system down. I have a patch to do this from Kernel because I believe Kernel should do the protection. There are multiple charging modes. If your battery is completely dead, the bootloader will still charge it, but very, very slowly. So people saw that their phone is dead. It's not. It's just waiting for half an hour because before doing anything, there's USB charge, which is limited to 0.5 ampere, and there's AC charge, which is like 2 amperes. And estimating remaining time is quite tricky, so you can estimate it from voltage, which has bad accuracy but always works. And there's charge counter, which gives you percent, but sometimes completely off, or maybe not available. So I create lib battery, which is supposed to hide the differences between different hardware and gives you percentage and hides the differences. For example, the Nokia N900 has 3 different charges in the SysFS because the hardware is designed like that and Kernel fails to act like that. Next thing, on PC you have screensaver. Screensaver kicks in, but as soon as you touch the mouse, it wakes up. This is not what you want in your pocket, so I created simple scripts which do relocking. So you have to press reel, or there's a sliding button meant for this purpose, which is you need to slide, not press. So it's unlikely to happen by accident. So I need a daemon to do this. Actually, in the future, it would be nice to have 3 states. One is unlocked, user is working with it. Next is locked, like doesn't react to anything but power button and unlock. But there's a third state, like in the incoming call, you want screen on saying, hey, you have call from your friend, and you would want to have a user interface there which would like allow taking the call, but be designed in a way that it's hard to do it by accident. So usually sliding moving. I have some code in Vala to do this. It needs proper integration. Ringing is complex. Again, I can't pretend to solve it properly because you basically want to stop the media player, and there is no interface to do that on these systems. Then you need to switch the mixers from your headphones to the speaker and play the ringing call, and it would be nice to have vibrations running too. So melody works, mixers work, MP3 posing is not implemented, vibrations are not implemented at the moment. Okay, next thing I found out, it's really annoying if your phone does not work completely. So if it runs, but it's not on GSM network, that's bad because you are missing your calls. So I want Modular software, but then I need something to monitor all the rest if it works properly. So I'm using the LED for this, and there's monitor daemon, which monitors the other daemons, like is the battery monitoring still responding? Is the GSM still online? And if it is, it blinks the green light for me, and I know that as long as the green light is blinking, I am probably okay. phones are meant for operation both indoors and outdoors, which means there's a great range of backlights you need to adjust. So there's light monitor, which there's a sensor for ambient light. It could be seen in the demo, and it adjusts display and keyboard backlight accordingly. Okay, there's a lot of more stuff that needs to be fixed in the userland. So GTK Plus is usable on N900, but because of very high resolution, you get small letters and some buttons are too small. So Mimo did some work on that, so they have patched GTK, which uses slightly different layout and uses the teaming, I believe, to get a bigger letters and so on. There's still work to be there. If there's GTK developer here, we would need your help. For N900, you can still use the scroll bars and the stylus. That's not the case for the Droid 4 and so on. We would really need finger scrolling with motion. Screen rotation would be good, but it's like the other issues are, I believe, more important. You can just use the phone like this, and it kind of works too. Camera. Video for Linux was originally designed for TV cards, so we have a media pipeline. And the TV cards basically give you a ready image for displaying, and the phone camera is very, very far away from that. So I will have next slides about that if we have time. Basically, the situation today is that we have if you use mainline V4 utils, you won't get anything. If you provide basic patches so that they recognize the camera, you will get either white or black image. And if you solve this and at autogain, autofocus, you can get something, but you still only get 8-bit of color resolution, and you really need 10 bits, which sensor supports. So there's a lot of work to be there. I initially started working on FCAN dev. Unfortunately, it's no longer maintained, and it's tricky C++ code with threads. I believe it needs to be deleted and started from scratch. But it had all the features at some point. Unfortunately, they used kernel patches to get different interface and so on. So I think it's too much work to recover it these days. So there's V4 utils. It only can do 8 bits, but it has active maintainers, and I believe this is better solution because of the maintainers, and I have some patches for that, but I still need to put them. And there's I have done 1/10 of the work, so I get something, I can do photos, but there's 10 times more work to get good quality photos remaining. Okay. Fortunately, I am not alone, and there are many different groups of people working on phones these days, and I will introduce you to some of them. So first one is PostmarketOS. Basically, these people realize that phones can last 10 years, maybe more, I don't know, except for the battery. but the phone software is basically useless after 2 years. Because after like a year or two, you stop getting updates, so you get security holes, web encryption standards change, so the old browser is no longer able to access new websites, dealing with applications, and so on. So these people decided that they would like this solved, and originally their goal was not phone, but using the phone as an embedded board. So if I have like 3 old cell phones, maybe I would like to use one as a temperature sensor in my living room, and maybe I want to use the second as a webcam, and so on. So PostmarketOS has a, so there's an address, there's a wiki, and they have like 20 devices supported somehow. They list the devices supported as soon as it can boot, and talk on the USB. PostmarketOS is based on Alpine cloud distribution or container distribution, which is pretty minimal base, so maybe suitable for a phone. They are not using glibc, which may be a reasonable choice too. This is okay. Downside is Alpine does not have as much software as Debian, and you need to learn their packaging system. They have HPK build files you need to write for your packages. They have a tool called PM Bootstrap, which is really quite easy to use. Basically, you run PM Bootstrap, answer what kind of phone I have, what kind of desktop environment, if any, I want there, what kind of extra packages I would like to have, and what is name of my SD card, and it will prepare bootable SD card for your phone. So, if you have a cell phone, which is not one of these 3 or 4 I am showing here, PostmarketOS is probably the best choice. And maybe a great way to get into distribution development, and maybe even kernel. Yeah, so getting SD card for your phone is as easy as this. Of course, N900 is well supported by PostmarketOS. There is some support for N9 and Droid 4. In the old days, the distribution for N900 was called Malmo. It was Debian based, and people are maintaining up to now. And Malmo Lester is attempt to bring new Debian to N900 and Droid 4. So this is limited scope. N900, Droid 4, 3 more targets like UMO and so on. So their goal is not to run Samsung, or maybe not yet, but they have experienced developers, they have Debian, and they are concentrating on these devices which run Mainline. So at the moment, Malmo stays what I'm running on the Droid 4, and it's making great progress. Unfortunately, on the N900 there was an environment called Hildon, which used 3D heavily. So Malmo was there because these people love Malmo, right? So they put Hildon in there, but Hildon needs 3D, and 3D is not working, and it's not going to be working anytime soon. So it's kind of slow there. But you can, because it's Debian based, you have all the Debian repositories, at your fingertips, and switching to different desktop environment is not that hard. Okay. There are more projects around phones. There's Librem4, they raised some money. There should be hardware available in a year or something. You can support them. I don't know how good it will turn out, because basically everything looks good on paper, right? Okay, maybe not everything. There's Neo 900, which is project to replace the logic board or main board here with new main board. Unfortunately, the board is going to be somehow expensive, because they want to make, like, this is not going to be mass product, so small series unfortunately means expensive hardware. I'd say that for a phone, a 900 is maybe powerful enough, and well, anyway, if you want new mainboard for a 900, you may be able to get it there in the future. There is Dragonbox Pira, which is a bigger handheld, not really a phone, but a PDA with a GSM modem attached. I don't know if it's sold now. Looks good on paper. There's Gemini PDA, which is supposed to have a good keyboard, but I'm not sure how good the hardware will be, because as soon as you put Qualcomm in your phone, Mainline support is not possible, and basically that's bad. There's Tizen, supported by Samsung. I don't think you can get useful open device from them, but it's, I guess, everyone who runs something besides Android is welcome. There's Nemo project, which is open source based for Yola. Actually, if you want a usable phone right now, like polished, I guess you should get Yola. So they have a distribution with some, yeah. I believe it has some closed parts, but it works rather well. It can be installed on Motorola Droid 4, and it's actually supported on some Sony Ericsson phone. And it's polished, has company supporting it, and so on. And they are like contributed back to the open source. So they have kind of Red Hat Enterprise versus Fedora stuff, and Nemo is basically their community's distribution, while the UI is their paid for one. Mine OS stays down there. Okay, I think there is time for questions. So